Cops are often criticized for their aggressive tactics and mishandling of situations. Today we'll look at cases where corrupt officers abuse their power and were rightfully sentenced to life in prison for their crime.
The fleeing is over. But Kevin Perez didn't care. He doesn't kick once, he doesn't kick twice, he doesn't kick 3 times, he keeps kicking.
Cops can use their authority to get out of trouble unless the matter is in court. Today we'll be going through some of the most shocking moments when these corrupt cops were owned and given life sentences in courtrooms. On July 26, 2021, Delonte Crudup, a tourist in Miami Beach, struck a police officer as he was riding his scooter. He ran away inside a nearby hotel and attempted to escape on an elevator when an officer rushed and caught him by pointing a gun at him. However, once the arrest was made, Officer Kevin Perez went absolutely mental, kicking him and punching him in the face multiple times. Soon after, other cops also joined in, brutally assaulting the poor guy who had already given up. The state attorney's office charged Perez with battery. Here's what the police chief had to say about this.
It's unspeakable, it is just inexcusable. And I'm not alone in that feeling.
This is not indicative of who we are. It's not indicative of the work that we've done.
The trial progressed with arguments from both the defense and the prosecution. After hearing closing statements from both sides, the jury delivered its verdict.
This case is about the beating of an unarmed, handcuffed black man, Delonte Crudup, by an overzealous police officer, Kevin Perez.
Delonte Crudup has every incentive to say that Kevin Perez committed a battery upon him, so he won't have to account for his own behavior.
It is very, very obvious what he has on his mind, and it's retaliation.
The fleeing is over, but Kevin Perez didn't care. He doesn't kick once, he doesn't kick twice, he doesn't kick 3 times, he keeps kicking.
There were no unlawful strikes, kicks, or drops. Kevin Perez did not commit a crime.
Eventually, the jury could only find the officer guilty of a misdemeanor charge of simple battery, and the sentence would then be announced at a later date. Now, moving on, this officer did something even worse, deserved a much bigger sentence that would see him in jail for a long time.
Having found the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter, assess his punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 11 years, 10 months, 12 days.
In 2019, Officer Aaron Dean was dispatched to the residence of Atiana Jefferson after her neighbors complained about an intruder being inside. As the officer arrived, he shot through the window, killing her on the spot. He was charged with murder, and after some hearings, the judge announced his sentence.
Y'all did fabulous when we did the guilt-innocence verdict, okay? Same rules apply. I don't know what this verdict is. Can't have any emotions, all right? Let's bring him in. Mr. Dean. Verdict reads, we the jury, having found the defendant Aaron York Dean guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter, assess his punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 11 years, 10 months, 12 days. They do not assess a fine. And it is signed by the presiding juror. You may be seated. Thank you very much.
A cold-blooded murder and 11 years in prison. Dean definitely got the officer treatment here.
Juror number 1, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 3, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 4, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 6, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 9, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 37, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 38, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your verdict will be received and filed. Thank you very much. Mr. Gill, Mr. Brissett, is there any legal reason why sentence should not be pronounced?
No legal reason.
Mr. Dean, it's the jury having found you guilty of the offense of manslaughter and assessed this punishment. It's the order of the court you be remanded to the custody of the sheriff, be delivered to the director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve your sentence as required by law. You will receive credit for all the time that you have served in custody on this case from the date of your original arrest.
He sat in front of the judge, having no regrets whatsoever, and was finally removed from the courtroom.
If you are indigent and cannot afford a lawyer, I would conduct an indigency hearing to determine if you are indigent. And if you are indigent, I would appoint a lawyer to represent you on appeal and provide you a record of this appeal of this trial at no cost. Is there an allocution? You may be seated. Thank you very much.
Now, Officer Dean is still in prison, but the family of Atiana feels that the punishment should have been more. While this was a normal officer, next up we have a sheriff who did the unthinkable and was taken to the cleaners in the courtroom.
You are not above the law, nor can you ignore the law when it serves your purpose. The sentences will be served consecutively for a total of 4.5 years.
Rio Arriba County Sheriff James Luan went over to save his friend, City Councilor Philip Chacon, after the police had come over to his house to arrest him. This led to an inquiry against the sheriff, and soon the deputies got a warrant for his phone. However, as they arrived at the sheriff's office, Luan had no clue what was about to happen.
One. Stack up on the front. Towards the phone. Hold it. Hold here. Hold here.
Morning, sir. What are you doing now? Executing search warrant. Sheriff Luan.
Search warrant for him or?
For the building as well.
For what?
I have no idea. It's tough. But no, just stay here. No, I can't have you enter the scene.
You guys are fucked up, man.
Let's get him on the opposite side of this truck.
Let's go over here, sir.
Cody? Let's go on the opposite side.
Sir, let's walk over here.
Why is that, dude? That's messed up,
Let's
dude.
walk over here.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. Let's get him on the opposite side of this truck.
Well, you got Tabitha over there.
Right here, right here, sir.
Right, yeah. I got the press out here taking pictures of me in handcuffs.
Still intoxicated by his power, Sheriff Luan believed that he couldn't be tried or held accountable no matter what happened. However, this time, his party was over.
Push him around into the doorway. Yeah, push him around into the doorway. At least to the doorway.
This is ridiculous.
Keep him up there.
Hold on, we have press.
Keep him up there.
Come over here, sir.
Keep him up there.
Sheriff,
Go.
What are you doing?
Stay out here.
Just stop.
Jesus.
Really? You don't have to.
Look
just
to you.
stand.
Look behind
Just
you.
stand. Just stand.
Stand up. Stand up.
Put him on this side of the truck. Put him on the other side of the truck.
It hurts.
They're loose, sir. They're loose.
No, they're not loose.
Stipulation.
Can you take these handcuffs off? They hurt. They hurt. Am I under arrest?
You're being detained.
Well, yeah. Why do I have to have cuffs on? They hurt.
The sheriff's deputies also joined in the resistance, but quickly realized that the situation was now past them.
25, 2 all units, make sure you guys stay running hot.
So on this is signed by a district court judge.
Good.
Okay? Judge Bowman. Okay. First judicial.
Okay.
So this search warrant gives me the authorization to seize your phone. Okay. Search your phone.
Okay.
But it also gives me the authorization. So what I'm asking for you to do is unlock your phone, unlock it, give it back to me, and I'm going to remove the security settings. I don't want your passcode. I'm not asking for your passcode. I'm asking you to unlock the phone. For the search warrant, you can read it if you want under number 2.
I will if I get a chance to talk to my attorney.
It doesn't work like that.
Marty,
This is not a negotiation.
mira.
This is not a negotiation, Sheriff. This is not a negotiation.
Luan's corruption could have been exposed instantly if he had just handed over his phone. Instead, the corrupt sheriff chose to be arrested rather than comply.
You can talk to your attorney when
Well,
this is all
I've
done.
been asking.
When this is all done, you can call your attorney. But right now, we're trying to get you to comply with the warrant. The warrant stipulates exactly what we want. You give us that, we'll get the phone, we're out of here. That's it. What do you want to do, Sheriff?
Right now, I am under arrest. Because I am under arrest. I am in handcuffs. I'm not free to leave. I'm not free to leave? Am I free to leave? No. No. Then, if I'm under arrest, I have a right to an attorney, correct?
You do.
Okay.
And I'm not questioning you.
I'm invoking my right to an attorney right now.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
So, take him in.
Book me for
booking. For obstruction. Obstruction.
Booking. I'm not obstructing.
Take him over here to our unit. Take him over here to our unit.
Over here, Sheriff. Over here.
Sheriff.
Just
They're gonna book me.
really?
Look at this shit. Look.
Stop. Just walk.
What are you doing?
The Santa Fe deputies did an outstanding job standing up to the sheriff. Despite his authority, they refused to be intimidated and ensured that no one was above the law.
I'm telling you what the warrant stipulates.
I understand that.
I told you what the warrant stipulates. You had every opportunity to cooperate. You want to cooperate, you're going to jail. Have a seat, sir.
Alright, good. Why is already
Take the whole thing out. No, I haven't been searched. Just take me so we can do it.
I don't want to make sure you don't have any knives.
I don't have any knives. I don't have any weapons. That's my wallet.
Yes, your wallet. What's this keys?
My keys to my truck. I don't have any weapons. Okay, I really don't. You took my weapon. As a matter of fact, you left it on the back of my truck over there. Did you get somebody to secure it,
We'll
please?
secure everything for you. Have a seat.
Can you move these to the front?
No, sir. Against department policy. Have a seat.
Well, it's tighter than hell. They hurt.
Sheriff, those are very, very loose.
Really?
Step
Nah.
out. Let me see if I can fix them. They're very, very loose.
After the sheriff was handcuffed, his deputies tried to intimidate the Santa Fe officers, but it was too late. Sheriff Luan had no way to recover from this.
Here, Sheriff.
Chief Sheriff.
That's his mag, and then we're gonna get you his sidearm.
Get everything. I don't want part of
We're all
it.
coming up now.
What do you mean everything?
Everything.
So this is what we took off this person? You're the one that took it off this person?
Took it off this person.
Deputy Graves.
Well, inventory it before you get it.
We're handing it right over to you.
Inventory it.
What are doing? We're trying to do everything peacefully. We tried to. Okay? That's all we're doing. We're done here. We're leaving.
Okay, well, get out of here then. You're done. Get out.
We'll leave when we're ready.
You said you were done.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up right now. You know how it goes. You know how it goes. We're doing our law enforcement duties. That's it. District court signed it. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so as soon as we're done, we're going to get out of your hair. Why are you calling everybody here to put them in bonds? Well, right now it's ours. Right now it's ours.
Oh, wow.
We own the building right now.
Shut up.
Don't talk to me like that.
Shut up.
I don't work for you. Don't talk to me like
Shut
that.
up.
Easy. Get that and let's go. Are we done in there? Are we done in there? Okay.
Things took a turn for the worse for the sheriff as he was locked up in the police car and taken to a corrections facility. Eventually, the sheriff's mobile was taken away from him and searched. An investigation saw him racking up a couple of charges, including aiding a felon and intimidating a victim. This is what Luan was ultimately sentenced to.
The people of Rio Arriba County elected you to be sheriff. They put their trust in you to uphold the law, and you let them down.
Yes, Your Honor. I try to do the best that I can to help everybody I can, and I in no way would want to harm anyone.
The law is the law. You are not above the law, nor can you ignore the law when it serves your purpose. The sentences will be served consecutively for a total of 4.5 years, of which 3 years of imprisonment and 1.5 years supervised probation. You let down the people of Rio Arriba County, and you let down the Sheriff's Department, the department that you led. What kind of example were you giving the people that you supervise?
Moving on, this tyrant police officer was charged and humbled for assaulting an innocent black man.
The court at this time will impose a sentence of 90 days, require you to pay a fine of $1,000.
Sinister cops are always owned and exposed in courtrooms. Their true face is revealed for the whole world to see. Today we'll be going through such moments where these corrupt officers got some brutal karma that knocked them down. Euclid police officer Michael Amiot was on trial after he was charged with assault when he physically used force on an innocent victim after conducting a traffic stop. It didn't take long for karma to hit him.
We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, do hereby find the defendant Michael Amiot guilty of assault, a misdemeanor of the first degree, in violation of Section 2903.13A of the Ohio Revised Code, as charged in Count 2. We do so render our verdict this 29th day of July. We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, do hereby find the defendant Michael Amiot guilty of interfering with civil rights, a misdemeanor of the first degree, in violation of Section 2921.45A of the Ohio Revised Code, as charged in Count 3. We do so render our verdict this 29th day of July, 2022.
Rightfully, the corrupt officer was found guilty on both charges, and the jury did a fantastic job.
That is your decision as to whether you wish to speak with them. With that, anything prior to discharging the jury?
No, Your Honor.
On behalf of the defendant, anything?
No, Your Honor.
Yes.
Amiot showed no remorse during his trial, and the very next day he was called back for sentencing. To make matters worse for him, the judge allowed the victim to say some words in front of the court.
My name is Richard Hubbard, and I appreciate the jury and the court for making the right decision. What Amiot did to me was wrong. He should have received the maximum sentences today. I'm still going through the suffering with the anxiety, driving, just the temperament, the trauma, and everything. This is a cause for this case. I'm ready to get it over, actually, but just coming back in here, just bring up everything, just to see him over there, see all that, just coming back in this court, it just brings up everything, we live at the moment. So, I hope he gets the maximum sentences today.
This wasn't the end of it all, as the suspect, Michael Amiot, was also allowed to address the court and apologize. The cunning officer would still not accept his mistake.
One of the most shocking examples was a prosecution witness called who testified that I was celebrating in the aftermath of this arrest. They testified that I was high-fiving, fist-bumping, and dapping it up with other officers. There was 5 police cars on East 228th Street that day, all with their dash cameras on and rolling. They all had overlapping fields of view. I can be seen in front of one of those cameras the entire time I was on scene until I was transported to the hospital. Nothing remotely close to what the witness described happened with me or any other officer on the scene. They knew this and put the witness on the stand anyway.
There was no regret or remorse on behalf of Amiot, and it was clear that an apology was too much for this ego-driven officer.
I take full responsibility that there was a failure on my behalf to get Mr. Hubbard in custody quickly. The incident was prolonged when I was shot with a taser. During the deployment, I broke my hand, ruptured tendons, and injured my shoulder. I want to end by saying I'm not an advocate for or against use of force. Everything I did on that day was based on my training and experience. From here on out, I'll be an advocate for subject control training department-wide going forward, so we can all be at our best when the time comes. I have a deep respect and love for the citizens and this community. I want to do my best to serve them.
Finally, it was time for the judge to speak, and before announcing the much-awaited sentence, he had some words for the officer himself.
One of the things that stood out to me is that the initiation of this incident probably never should have occurred when you receive that initial radio communication. That initiated this whole thing. And the other thing that sort of stood out to me was that in approaching the vehicle and asking Mr. Hubbard to get out of the vehicle. There was an inability for him to get out of that vehicle without making contact with you.
The judge, who also happened to be a black man, spoke to the victim and assured him how he should move on from this terrible incident and not let the corrupt officer's actions ruin his life.
I believe the jury got it right. I do. And the court must impose the sentence that the court feels is appropriate in a case like this. And I appreciate if you need assistance, you need to go and get that assistance. But I'm not going to say you're not going to have instances of flashback or what have you, but you need to move on with your life also. And not let this incident continue to hover over you. The city compensated you.
Ultimately, the sentence was announced and Amiot was removed from the court.
Court at this time will impose a sentence of 90 days, require you to pay a fine of $1,000, and will require you to pay the court costs. In addition, the court will suspend the sentence of 90 days, place you on non-reporting community control for a period of 1 year. If you violate during that 1 year, then the court will retain the ability to impose the sentence. Anything on behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor.
On behalf of Ms. Amiot?
Just what count is this in?
The court will use the assault as opposed to the violation of civil rights. Not saying they weren't violated, but given the length of time, the court will use the assault charge. Anything else?
He was initially sentenced to 90 days in prison, but that was later canceled. Instead, he was placed on 1 year of non-reporting community control and fined $1,000. He was also rightfully fired from the Euclid Police Department. This officer certainly earned his karma, but things took a bizarre turn when his qualified immunity was revoked.
He had nothing in his hands, and he was shot twice in
2011, a simple traffic stop turned fatal when Officer Osvaldo Villarreal shot and killed innocent Benny Herrera. After a few years, his family filed a lawsuit against the cop, which eventually led to this pre-trial.
This is a tragic case, there's no question about that. But Officer Villarreal was required to make a split-second life and death decision.
What required him to do that? It doesn't look to me as though he was the initiator.
The fact that Mr. Herrera, first of all, he had been acting erratically before the shots were fired. He moved from a place of relative safety on the shoulder of the road into the roadway. He was skipping
But if we're
backwards.
talking about Officer Villarreal, how much did he know about the prior behavior?
He saw all of that.
I have to say what you're saying is inconsistent with what I saw on his own camera. That is to say, the point at which he began to get close enough to see anything. Some of that earlier stuff was on the other camera, but not on his.
Shockingly, it only took a few seconds for the corrupt officer to draw his weapon and shoot innocent Herrera, although Herrera was unarmed at the time.
His camera was turned on, but
His camera was turned on well before he got to the scene.
He testified in deposition that he saw Mr. Herrera on the side of the road, and then he saw.
Well, he can testify to what he wants to testify to, but I want to tell you what I saw on his own camera tells me that the early part of this he did not see, could not see. That was his intention, you say?
That was his intention, and that's in his deposition.
Again, I'm relying on what's on the videotape, and now this is in Officer Villarreal's car. I hear him say, "Take your hand out of your pocket," and I hear the gunshot almost simultaneously.
Exactly.
They cannot be separated by more than a second.
And that's exactly the time period when Officer Villarreal had to make his decision.
To make matters worse, the officer had been cleared by the police department. It is shocking to realize the level of accountability that these cops have.
Before, he was asked in deposition, well, what were you going to do when you asked him to take his hand out of his pocket? Well, I was going to put him in a control position. That's what he intended to do.
So he's taking his hand out of his pocket.
Yes.
And as he's obeying the officer's command, he gets shot.
But it's the way that he does it, Your Honor. He didn't just stand still and take his hand calmly out of his pocket. Is he doing this peacefully? Or does he have something in his hand that could be a threat to me and is my life in danger?
Well, right.
He had a fraction of a second to make that decision.
Well, don't we have to view this in the light most favorable to the plaintiff here? I mean, and so if we do what you just said right now, offer two possibilities.
However, the body cam footage made it very obvious that the officer was in the wrong, and the judges also felt that his qualified immunity needs to go.
Here, Mr. Herrera was arguably complying with Officer Villarreal's order to remove his hand from his pocket at the time that he was shot. So how is it that we determine that we should grant qualified immunity?
Because qualified immunity allows for police officers to make mistakes. It allows for the possibility that officers will make mistakes in judgment, and that's exactly what happened here. Officer Villarreal had a choice to make. Do I wait and see whether there's something in the hand that could kill me, or do I shoot? And he made the decision to fire. We know with the benefit of hindsight, obviously, that was wrong.
It's truly saddening how Officer Villarreal was getting the cop's privilege. There was absolutely no reason to shoot the victim, and he should be getting punished for it. But thanks to the legal system here, he remained on the force without any trouble.
It seems like he had a better vantage point possibly than Mr. Villarreal.
He actually didn't, for these reasons. Officer Miali was facing, from his point of view, he saw Mr. Herrera's back, not Mr. Herrera's front. So he couldn't see, and he testified in his deposition that he couldn't see Mr. Herrera's hands as they were coming out of his pocket. He also, if he had fired, he would have fired toward an apartment complex. Officer Villarreal fired toward a block wall.
I guess the issue I'm having here is that these are arguments, in my mind, for a jury. That certainly you can lay these out, but we're at a very limited scope here. This is not jury redo. We have to determine based on the facts as alleged by the plaintiff. And right. they're gonna say, no, it was, he simply had his hand in his pocket and these officers were coming up on him really strong. They created the tension, they rose the adrenaline, not him. You have to lay out, take their facts, not the facts as you want. You gotta stick with their facts and explain why under their facts, you win as a matter of law.
I agree, Your Honor.
However, things were now starting to look tough for the corrupt cop, and finally, the judges were reaching some sort of justice for the deceased and his family.
As long as the historic facts are undisputed, the question of whether or not Officer Villarreal's actions were reasonable is a question of law. It's not a question that you give to a jury, because we don't want juries second-guessing the very, very difficult life and death decisions that officers have to make.
I agree, but at this stage, again, this is not an argument to a jury. Take those facts. Yes. You're saying that as a matter of law, the shooting here was legal.
Yes, it was objectively reasonable. Well, not just those facts. Officer Villarreal knew that Mr. Herrera was a suspect in a domestic violence incident. Okay. He knew that he had a gang affiliation, that he was on parole, that he had a warrant out for his arrest. All of those things factor into
on parole. I don't remember on parole. They said
on parole, yes, and there was a warrant out for his arrest.
What do we know about what Officer Villarreal knew with respect to whether he was armed?
We know that dispatch told Officer Villarreal and Officer Miali that Mr. Herrera was not known to be armed.
The judges argued that the officer should at least be tried, as the other party had substantial evidence to challenge his qualified immunity.
Espinosa, the suspect, had refused to put up his hands, had threatened the officers, and an officer believed that she saw something in the suspect's hand, saw him move his arm, and was worried he was going to shoot her. But yet we affirmed the denial of qualified immunity in part because the suspect had not brandished a weapon or spoken of a weapon.
The defense attorney worked hard to portray her client as innocent, but the judge wasn't having it and quickly shut her down.
The domestic violence incident was over.
Yes, and there...
So, I mean, how does that strengthen your case? I mean, that was, if you're arguing that it was an ongoing domestic violence, so...
it wasn't an ongoing domestic violence incident. And it's easy for us to sit in hindsight and say, well, Mr. Herrera didn't have a gun. Mr. Herrera didn't really
Counsel,
pose any
I don't think
threat.
anyone here said that one time.
No,
I think what we're focusing on, again, the narrow standard we have to deal with here, and that's what we're dealing with. This is not a jury trial. This is not summary judgment. It's a very limited thing. No one here has raised about the fact you didn't have a gun.
I understand. The trial court did.
After the defense presented their side, the plaintiff's attorney took the stage and raised several crucial questions.
But I think there's no question that he had his hand in his pocket.
Well, and both officers said it looked like he had something heavy in his pocket.
Okay.
All right. And then just before Mr. Vial opened fire, Mr. Herrera rapidly removed his hand and moved quickly, it seemed like, toward the officer's car. Why isn't that enough?
Well, because sticking on the undisputed facts, the officers had no information that any weapon was involved in a crime. They were specifically told he was not known to carry weapons.
The attorney made it clear that it was entirely the officer's mistake to escalate the situation to this alarming level.
Opposing counsel that he's entitled to make a reasonable mistake.
Well, if that was the standard alone, then every single shooting case, the defense would argue that an officer is entitled to a reasonable mistake, and that's the end of the analysis. I think for purposes here, one has to look at the facts supporting the plaintiff's version, and he had nothing in his hands, and he was shot twice and killed. We specifically asked the officers about their training, and they conceded, which is included in the cites in our brief.
No matter what the defense argued, the facts were clear. Herrera was dead, and Officer Villarreal was responsible for his death. Still, the defense tried once more to sway the judges.
The jury does not get to decide qualified immunity?
Qualified immunity is a question of law for the court.
You mean, so depending on, the jury has to decide whether or not there's been a constitutional violation, and at trial, the jury cannot say to your officer, you're off the hook because you have qualified immunity? That can't be right.
The underlying predicate facts.
I understand that, but I think I'm arguing on your point, if we send this back, I don't think you want to say qualified immunity is no longer available to you at trial.
Absolutely not.
Well, I think that's what you just said. That's why I'm speaking up.
That was not my intention at all.
Once again, the judges stood firm on the right side of the law and shut down the defense attorney's argument.
Everything goes bad for your client. That is to say, if we send it back, if the jury says no qualified immunity, and if the jury comes in with an award of some amount of damages, will your client pay those damages out of his own pocket, or will it be paid by his employer?
It should be 99.9% of the times it's paid by the employer. I don't see why it would be different.
Well, by statute, California statute says it's paid by the employer unless they're punitives.
Yes,
isn't that right?
That was what I was going to say.
So that doesn't say 99%, it says 100.
Well, I was going to say, unless there were
punitives.
If there were punitive damages, the city would have the option of deciding whether to pay them.
Well, if this officer wasn't bad enough, this next one did something so heinous, he was immediately sentenced to life.
The first degree. Defendant is guilty of the crime of the first degree, and punishment is set at 30 years.
It is shocking to see how an officer behaves out with the public, thinking he would never be held accountable for his actions. However, this cop made a mistake so huge that it couldn't be ignored, and he was sentenced to over 200 years in prison. On June 18th, 2024, Officer Daniel Holtzclaw had completed his shift and was heading home when he conducted a traffic stop of a 57-year-old woman. During the stop, Daniel asked her to lift her skirt and take off her pants before he forced her to do oral sex right there on the road. The victim, Janie Liggins, reached the police department the next day and even submitted to a assault exam. As Daniel came onto his shift the very next day, he was welcomed by Detective Kim Davis, who was about to take him to the cleaners.
Tell me about that stop.
I was going westbound on Northeast 50th, probably a block just east of Lincoln. I see a red Grand Prix or Grand Am in my right lane, in the outside lane. I'm in the inside lane. The car swerves, and so at the time I'm thinking, okay, it's probably a drunk person, or maybe got excited because they saw a cop. Made contact. It was a black female. Asked for license insurance. Stated that she didn't have insurance. Gave me an ID.
Do you make traffic stops normally after work?
I don't, but in that case, I saw her swerve and whatnot, so
I mean, yeah, I don't.
felt.
After I get off work.
I know, I mean,
The officer had also turned off his computer and GPS while making the stop. Now, while the nature of the stop was illegal, what happened next assured that the officer was in huge trouble.
Okay, so you got her out of the car.
yes,
Okay. And put her in the back of your car.
yes.
Okay. Any problems there?
No, she was cooperative. Didn't give me any problems or whatnot.
So, did you run her on your MDT?
No, I didn't. All my stuff as far as that, because I didn't even call it in and say it was a traffic stop. My computer was off and everything as well.
Did you shut it off?
I just shut it
after
off.
work?
Yeah, on the way.
When you put her in your car, did you pat search her?
When I came here, I was like, lift up your shirt. Is there anything on you? Anything as far as your waistband or anything like that? She said no. And then I put her in the vehicle and went from there. Asked her everything.
Did your hands go on her at all?
I backhanded her on as far as the side.
Where on her body? Tell me. You backhanded?
Her waist, and the back portion. I didn't touch her butt or anything, but the back portion of the waist. And then she lifted it up like right here, and there's nothing.
Did she
on
lift it up like this?
No.
Okay. So she never, like, went, whoo, nothing,
No.
exposed her or anything like that?
She asked me if I was like, no, it's okay.
She asked you.
Mr. Holtzclaw's reaction was quite calm and composed, something that you would never expect from an innocent cop who has been accused of such dirty things.
Did your hand go on her butt or anything?
No, that's not what I was saying. It was the hip, the side, not the section.
What about right here?
No.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
They can tuck a gun
That's
right here.
why I asked to lift it up.
Oh, so she just kind of showed you her belly?
Right.
Okay. Well, was there anything, an accidental touch, anything?
If she thought it when I pass searched her, but it was nothing as far as I felt like I would do anything as far or anything like that. For my safety, I just checked to see the weapons or anything.
And
To make clear, I didn't touch her butt, but the waist side and whatnot. If you would like me to do it for me to show you.
No, and I'm fine with it, and you have every right to do that. She's saying that you made her lift up her shirt, and when she lifted up her shirt, she exposed her breasts.
The case was only getting started, and Detective Kim realized this wouldn't be a one-time occurrence. As she dug further into the officer, she discovered 13 women who accused him of similar incidents. Shockingly, all of them were black women who had trouble with the law. It was seemingly obvious that Daniel considered them easy targets and was abusing them.
She said, she said she was doing this. When you said, is there anything inside your bra? And she was going, no, I don't have anything like that. Did she do that?
Yeah, she did, but I didn't look or anything like that.
Right.
And then she was like, do you want me to show you? I was like, no.
She said when she said, do you want me to show you? You said, yeah, and she went,
No, I didn't.
but could she have been, woo, flashing you? And now you don't want to tell me because you're afraid you're going to get in trouble?
No, when I told her no, I said no.
Then she didn't go, yeah, you know, because sometimes drunk girls are,
having a good time.
yeah, but I'm asking you if she flashed you anyways.
I didn't see her. I didn't see.
Okay. What about pants?
Nothing in her pants as far as that concerned. She was wearing tight jeans. So
She said she pulled them down.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see her pulling down?
I didn't see her pulling down pants.
Did not see?
No, I did not see it.
She's saying you shined your light on her.
I did not see her.
Where do you keep your flashlight?
The left side right here.
The detective wouldn't shy away as he tried to charm him and get everything out of him before it was too late. The other detective also proceeded to get his DNA, which would later prove fatal for him.
Did we buckle swap anybody in the academy
I don't.
as a demonstration?
This ain't so bad, huh?
No, I never had this done, so.
Stay up. There we go. And you get a free teeth cleaning with your first time.
You won't go none though.
All right, and then we're gonna have one more round.
I turned off my phone.
Pulled up a lot of video around that area after these allegations.
Okay.
Okay. She also had a SANE exam, which you know what that consists of.
Right.
There's a reason why we wanted your buckles. So if we go off the video and watch that,
right,
you're still going to stick with your story.
Yes, sir. I think everything covered as far as that.
Do you recall putting your in her mouth?
I don't.
Would you recall that if you did it?
If I did it, yeah.
At this point, the detectives were only interested in Janie's case, and they observed the officer's car standing for more than 25 minutes during the stop. Now, things were getting tough for Daniel, but despite the mounting pressure, he remained unfazed.
We knew you were on that stop.
Right.
We knew you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And we family can watch a whole lot of actions being performed while you were there. Okay? And that's why she was trying to give you every out on the whole booby thing.
Right.
But any reason why this would be out?
No.
But if we say we didn't do it, and then the DNA comes back and says he did it, then we have a huge problem.
Right.
On the video, are we going to see?
Shouldn't see her boobs.
Okay. Are we going to see her pull her pants down?
I didn't see her pull it.
Are we going to see your penis?
Nope.
Are we going to see your penis in her mouth?
No.
Are we going to get any DNA to that?
No.
The detectives uncovered another victim, 43-year-old Terry Morris, who had reported being by Daniel a month earlier. Once again, Daniel had no explanation and refused to identify her.
Probably not necessarily going to remember the name, but her name is Terry Morris. Okay, black female. Supposedly you promised her a ride to the city rescue mission. This ring a bell?
No.
She thought you ran for warrants. Clicking. Drove her around.
No. Name doesn't. I don't recall a name like that.
Okay, she's claiming the same thing. The exact same thing. And here again, for whatever reason, the things are pointing at you again. Traffic stop, not logged in, all that stuff.
The other girl that he's talking about is kind of making the same allegations, and that's weird.
Yeah, that
doesn't look good.
I mean, that's
it doesn't
weird.
look. Yeah, it doesn't look good. So, no, I don't.
The detective shifted to more general questions, probing into Daniel's personal life to uncover potential patterns.
Would you take a polygraph?
Yeah, if you want to take a polygraph.
I mean, I'm trying to think of a solution. Do you know how slow DNA is?
I don't. I do not.
Slow.
When you went home, was anybody home?
My girlfriend was home.
Do you live with her?
Huh? No, she doesn't. She just stayed.
Did you get laid?
Messed around, yeah.
What's messed around?
I guess.
We were all adults.
We almost had. And she was.
What'd you do?
So, my. Brought her vagina. And then maybe went a little bit in, and then she pushed me off and said, no, we don't want it. I'm tired. I was like, okay.
That's kind of mean to let it get that far and then stop.
So
that's when you got home?
That's when I got home.
The detectives questioned Daniel about his relationship with his wife before returning to the main issue. The full extent of his abuse remains unknown, with countless women possibly having been victimized.
And she's sitting right here. If she goes like this, well, she's going to be looking right at you.
Okay. But it was just talking.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever get a hard when you were talking to her? Because she could have.
I don't think
these
I got.
pants don't fit the greatest,
Right.
and if you get a, I'm gonna be able to tell you got a hard on.
Right, and I'm pretty positive I didn't get a hard on.
Didn't get a hard on when you talked to her. Did your pants come unzipped, unbuttoned, anything while you were standing right there?
No.
CSI is processing your car right now.
Right.
And when we stepped out, they found some pubic hairs right in here. Could they be yours?
No, that's not. I didn't pull my penis out. I didn't do anything right there.
Did she?
No.
But do you think they could be?
No, it's not. No. Nothing of mine.
Your pubes couldn't be?
No.
Right there?
No.
Well, things were only about to get worse, as a week later, a 17-year-old girl claimed the officer stopped her and proceeded to rape her on her mother's porch.
You sure she just didn't flash you?
I can't. She did not. I want to say I can't recall, but I'm pretty positive she didn't flash.
I see a pair of titties.
She went like this, but nothing as far as I'm going like crazy looking.
Lifting the shirt.
No.
How far did she lift it?
When she lifted it up first, when I patted her down, she was like right here to like stomach line.
Did you see her belly?
Maybe some fat rolled or something. I don't know, but nothing.
Right, but I mean, could you see skin?
Yeah, I saw skin. Yeah. I don't know.
You like older women?
I don't.
How old's your
She's 25.
Okay.
What's the oldest lady you've
Maybe 29.
You ever a black woman?
I have. In high school, I have.
Holtzclaw failed to provide one good answer as to why this 57-year-old woman would make such a complaint against him when she had nothing to gain from it.
Anyway, those people are yours.
No, we're not. Please, go.
I know. We're going to test it. It just takes... Anyway, your skin cells are going to be anywhere on her mouth. Skin cells from your fingers.
No.
Did you touch her body anywhere other than with the back of your hand pat searching her?
Just pat search her and that was about it. Didn't touch her face or anything.
Because if the tests come back, you ain't coming back in here.
Because we have a woman that says about, basically being sexually assaulted.
Right.
Okay? And we're calling it by force and all that. Big difference between that and a hookup.
Right. Nothing else.
But when she was standing, did she try to pull her pants down?
No.
Did she do... You said she kind of did like this. Did she ever do anything down here?
No.
You said you take the lie detector test.
Right.
Do you have any extra job? Is there a time when you can't take a lie detector test?
No. Usually it's all the times if I do. It's supposed to say policy. You're supposed to let them dispatch.
Who cares about policy right now? Because we don't at this point. Do you do the mileage and do all that? Or
Can't, here and there.
Sometimes you don't?
Sometimes I don't.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't.
Zip on back to this other deal. You're saying about a 15-minute traffic stop. How long do you usually take on a traffic stop, just on average?
Maybe 20 minutes.
The disgraced officer denied every accusation the detective presented. It's hard to imagine what he was thinking, perhaps hoping for some leniency, which was no longer an option.
20 minutes. Now that's going to be some 800 time, right?
800, searching the car in detail, all of that.
Okay, so doing all of that, all the running, waiting in line, and even on a search. Now, the question I have is we got a lapse of time here, so I'm kind of get a better handle on where the time went. You're talking about 15 minutes, no 800, no running on the computer, you shut it down. And you said it was just a quick little search of the car. Where's the rest of that time?
Just talking to her.
About what?
Just see where you go and trying to get her to confess, are you drunk or not? Like, are you been drinking? Because I could smell it when I was in the car, but I can't really get it.
Well, what if she just said, yes, I'm drunk?
I didn't hear a lot of drunk questions, like how much
have you been drinking? Mainly it's just have you been drinking, trying to get her confessed. Is anything inside that juice? No. Just trying to talk to her. But,
okay, right there, those questions maybe took 40 seconds. 15 minutes?
And you said 5 at the car. So then we got 10 of a lot of questions.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you tell me I wasn't there. I mean, obviously I don't have any audio.
And that's what I'm saying. Roughly on a traffic stop, take about 20 minutes. It was the quickest traffic stop.
The detectives then proceeded to ask him the key question as to what he was doing during the whole time, if there was no ticket being issued.
How could you take 15 minutes on that?
Just talking. I must have been talking. So.
I can't see her wanting to talk if she's crying and asking if you're going to shoot her and all this. I don't see her being real forthcoming with conversation.
Whether my questions or whatnot, that's it.
I mean, you don't seem... I mean, I don't know how you were out there, but just kind of talking with you. I mean, you seem real laid back and everything like that. I've never got the impression of just kind of an angry type cop. We know some.
So you don't think 15 minutes was too long on that traffic stop?
No,
And nothing during that 15 minutes?
Nothing said.
Sensing something was off, Detective Kim decided to call Officer Daniel's wife. She was about to uncover the first of many lies that he had told.
I just talked to Karen.
Okay.
She said she was asleep when you got home and you did not try to have sex, and you did not have sex. She said you didn't. And I asked her, could you have been asleep? And you had kind of, no. And she said no. You did not try to have sex.
As much as I don't want to involve her, I tried to have sex and she was asleep. Carrie goes to sleep pretty early, about 9. 10 at the late.
Okay, but she would know if you tried. I'm a woman.
I know.
And my husband comes home in the middle of the night, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been asleep. You said you twirled around her
I did.
and you put it in a little bit, and then she said, I'm tired. No.
I did.
She would remember that to tell me.
Shoot. Maybe.
She said you did not try to have sex.
That was something Daniel definitely didn't want to happen. He had been proven wrong, and the list of lies was only going to increase from here.
I don't know what to say. I mean, because it just looks like I just caught you in a lie, and now I don't know what to believe.
I'm telling you.
I don't know what to believe.
Okay.
Because you tell me this, I go to verify it. She tells me the opposite, and now I'm wondering what you're telling the truth about.
Maybe because she doesn't know what the heck's going on.
No, she doesn't. I didn't tell her.
And I'm glad, but detectives calling her, any other officer asking her a question like that.
I know.
She may be scared.
Given the story that you're not given.
I'm telling you, I try to ask Carrie, my girlfriend.
She is going to remember your wing twirling around her hoo-ha. You remember that. I'm sorry, I don't care how much of a sleeper you are. You remember because it pisses you off in the middle of the night and you go, are you serious? Don't bother me with that.
At the end of it all, Daniel was asked to give up his badge, uniform, and gun while he was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation.
I think you're going to need to, unless you want to keep the shirt on, I don't know. I don't know if this shirt's going to be big enough for you. You're a big old boy. Well, you can get home. You're gonna need some pants. Why don't you go ahead and get dressed then?
I need to tell you what's going on. It's crazy. I said, I'm basically on my way home, and I'd like to talk to you. What's going on? It's crazy.
His uniform was sent in for DNA testing, and 17-year-old Adara Gardner's DNA was found on the zipper of his pants. As 13 women came forward, he was ultimately charged with 36 charges, including sexual assault, oral and stalking. It took quite a lengthy trial for the jury to establish their verdict, as Officer Daniel pled not guilty to every charge and claimed that he had nothing to do with this. But the jury saw this all quite differently.
Verdict, count 1, sexual battery. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn in the above entitled cause, do upon our oaths find as follows. Defendant is guilty of the crime of battery and set punishment at 8 years. Count 2, procuring lewd exhibition. Not guilty of the crime of procuring exhibition. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of sexual battery. Count 8, defendant is guilty of the crime of forcible oral assault and punishment is set at 20 years. Count 9, first degree. Defendant is not guilty of the crime in the first degree.
Daniel Holtzclaw was found guilty on 18 of these charges, as the jury eventually discarded some of the women's claims as the evidence was not found.
Count 16, forcible oral. Defendant is guilty of the crime of forcible sodomy and punishment is set at 16 years. Count 17, forcible oral sodomy. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of forcible oral sodomy. Count 18, procuring exhibition. Defendant is not guilty of the crime of procuring exhibition. Count 28, rape first degree. Defendant is guilty of the crime of the first degree and punishment is set at 30 years. Count 29, first degree. Defendant is guilty of the crime of first degree and punishment is set at 30 years. Count 30, battery. Defendant is guilty of the crime of battery and punishment is set at 8 years. Count 31, second degree by instrumentation. Defendant is guilty of the crime of second degree and punishment is set at 12 years.
The convicted rapist pleaded his innocence in the courtroom despite the overwhelming evidence against him.
Mr. Holtzclaw, this jury finds you guilty of the various counts. You will be remanded to the custody of the Oklahoma County Sheriff for formal sentencing set January 21st, 2016 at 10 o'clock a.m. All right, you have a seat.
He was later sentenced to 263 years in prison and has tried multiple times to appeal the decision, but to no avail. This dangerous creep will surely spend the rest of his life behind bars. Well, this brings us to the end of the video. Today we witnessed the shocking case of a police officer turned. It is devastating to see a protector become a predator. The only solace in his sentence ensuring that he can never harm anyone again. If you agree, please support us by liking this video. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out some of the other most breathtaking courtroom moments of all time.
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon.